Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Buat warga ISDEF, secara khusus kepada pengarah ISDEF, Associate Professor Dr. Syahir Akram Hassan, kepada penaung ISDEF, kepada rakan-rakan pensyarah ISDEF, pelajar-pelajar PhD dan juga master di ISDEF. Alhamdulillah, kita dapat bertemu lagi dalam sesi perkongsian ilmu ataupun secara khususnya monthly graduate supervisions. Kebetulan memang nak prepare untuk perkongsian ini, so sedar tanpa sedar dah, seingat saya dah kali ketiga, kali ketiga, iaitu pada tahun ini 2023 ni yang pertama. So pada tahun 2022 ada pada sesi Januari dan juga Mac, kalau tak silap saya. Kemudian ada perkongsian bersama pelajar juga pada tahun 2021. Yang pertama adalah berkaitan dengan artikel jurnal, kita ada TOT. Kemudian kita ada, tak silap saya, conference, Islamic Development Management Conference juga pada tahun 2021. Jadi ini kali yang kelima dapat kita bersama. Alhamdulillah. Okey, kita terus kepada tajuk hari ini. Dengan masa yang ada, kita cuba memberi satu gambaran penting, aspek kepentingan dalam sebuah penyelidikan, khususnya hari ini adalah berkaitan research instruments qualitative research instrument and qualitative data analysis. Okay. Alright. Jadi untuk that purpose and this topic, I try to buat dalam bahasa Inggeris lah, supaya kita ada pelajar-pelajar yang daripada international can be understand on this topic. Okay, so kita conduct in English. So little bit maybe example I try to add on ataupun mix in bahasa. Okay. Before we go through on the topic on the instruments and analysis, okay, I need to start with the basic on the research. I know that ISDEF is based on the Islamic development and Islamic management, but this is one is mostly quite basic and general, and in order to us understand on the instrument and analysis, we little bit start with the basic from the research perspective. Okay, this is part of the research philosophy. Okay, as the general, it's become of the investigations of nature, causes and principle of reality, knowledge or value founded on logical reasoning. And among the interests, understanding philosophical issues in conducting research is to identify and explore, explain, and create research design. Okay, basically in research, so we can divide these two areas, which is one is quantitative based on the statistical and numericals, and another one is based on the qualitative. Okay, for purpose today, for qualitative, we are more focused. Okay, basically from a few of the scholar on the research qualitative, which is that the blue color from the text I'm highlights. This is basically action words on the qualitative research. We can identify, and kalau bahasa Melayu we call that mengenal pasti. So we can explore, meneroka, and then we can explain also. Okay, we can explain. In this method, all will be help us in order to create research design. Okay, before we go to the instrument, so we can see your research objective. For example, your objective to explore, to identify, okay, based on the descriptive manner or methods, and you want to explain, dalam bahasa Melayu menjelaskan atau menghuraikan. So this part will assist us in order to write in your research design. So kita tahu, and we know that when your objective is explore and tendency for the qualitative research. So that's why we start some basic on this research qualitative from philosophy. Okay, so this is part of the why so important of research philosophy. So first is to explain research design. Okay, number two is about the effective. So this part is really important. So we need know that from your phenomenons or from your problems, we can know that what's the similars and difference based on the setting and situation also. Okay, and based on the qualitative is beyond to the research experience. So based on the phenomenon. So the difference between qualitative and quantitative, in quantitative, we testing on the unknown phenomena. Okay, we are known phenomena. And so, but for the qualitative unknown phenomena. Okay. Okay, this part of the philosophical assumption, just very basic. And so this part really important. I know that for the Islamic paradigm perspective, we have more specific, but this become general. And in order to understand on the instruments, qualitative and analysis. So we have the ontology. So this become of nature and reality. So parts of the qualitative is interpretisms. So it's based on the idealism. Okay, we are not based on the realism, but the idealism. But it depends. If you are study in mixed method, we are apply both. Which is we have the interpretism and the positivism. And second one is how that the knowledge can be grow and extend, acceptable knowledge. So in this part for the qualitative, we are basically highlight on the subjective matters, which is we are more focused on socially, exploratory, explanatory, and observational. So this part also we can discuss later on. Part of the research instrument, which is number one is the interview. Second one is the observation, and third one is document. Okay. Also, we can also add or integrate with the qualitative. Commonly, we use the survey in order to become complement and to support. So we have applied for the common tree on the instrument on the qualitative, but also we can also use as a survey is one part of our instrument. Okay, so certain research required and positive recommend if in your study is actually apply for the strangulations, which is strangulation. We have some perspective and opinions. Some of most of them is when you use two, for example, interview, and then you use survey. That's become we can say that we can call that strangulations. But some, because the name is strangulate, so certain very few scholar have highlight. If you want to confirm this is triangulation, which is we need to add another one, become three. For example, it's common they are add for the document and document analysis. Okay. So another text is about their contribution, and we call that axiology. So basically for interpretism, it's based on interpretation and experience. Okay. But for the quantitative and positivism, it's better free of the value. Okay. More on scientific and systematic. Okay. This is part of the positivism. So this, I just share the slide. Okay, you can read from this slide. Okay, because we need to go to our aim today. Okay, so this part of you can clear and more specifics in order to understand about the positivism. So which is true on this eight, and the observer, human interest, explanation, research progress through concept based on a unit analysis, generation through, and sampling required. So the most important as a student and researcher, we need to differentiate between positivism and anthropism, or quantitative and qualitative. If you are study qualitative, we need know that what is quantitative research. We capable and understand to differentiate between these two research methodology. Okay, this is a must-free, should be irrelevant, must indicate causation, hypothesis, and deductive. Okay, so need to be operate so that can be measures, need to be reduced and simplify terms, statistical probability or numerical, random, and large sample. So we can easy to differentiate between qualitative. Okay, so they have part of being observed, primary drive, okay, improve general understanding, collect rich data, okay, must involve stakeholder perspective, can involve the complexity of the situational abstract theory, okay, sampling require basic, use the small sample, okay. So this is an example on the how to write in the research philosophy, just to share, okay. So as the total slide is the total slide around 180 plus, okay. So some slide I just give to you, to everyone, to refer later on. I will be share the video and slide also. You can refer this slide, okay. So this is some of the example. For example, this one, number one, this is based on the PhD from the Zuzanifah course name. They study on the gold dinar accepted in modern monetary system. Okay, so we have a few example from others research from Malaysia, especially in study in Malaysia or in study in overseas. Okay, you can refer. This is some of example in order to write the research philosophy. Okay, so research approach, straightforward. Basically, we have three: deductive for quanti, inductive is qualitative, and abductive for mixed method. So this is some the explanation when we use for deductive and the inductive, and also for the abductive also. So you can see that how that differentiate between deductive and inductive. We straight away go to the inductive. Whatever, if you want to study in qualitative, the most important thing is your finding. Okay, from your finding, okay, from your explore and explain and descriptive, and from your interview, observe and document, from your phenomenons. Okay, we are collect, analyze, and get the theme. Okay, so we will be discussed later on specific category and themes. So we generate hypothesis, and suddenly we can propose a theory or extension theory. Okay, so different with the quantitative, they start with the theory. So that's why we call that quantitative also theory testing. Okay, in the end, so their end is to get the finding, but different in qualitative using the inductive approach. Whatever, we need to start on the finding first. That's why the most important for the qualitative researcher, we need the finding. From the finding that you can be come out, or you can extend a knowledge or theories. Okay. Abductive is some like the what we call that the combination and use both and between inductive, deductive, or quali or quanti. So it has become another good finding. Okay. So this finding, so this we can say that intelligent explanation. Dia in bahasa Melayu kita panggil kecerdasan. Dia lebih cerdas lah, and because of we use both parts of the inductive for quali and deductive on the quantitative. Also we use both, so we have consider we look in the two areas and all perspective. Okay. Okay, this some of the another slide to make it more explanation on the deductive, inductive, and abductive. So this is part of the summarize. So this is an example writing on the research approach. Okay, see this is, you can refer from this slide. Later on, you can see that the some of the example in order to write a research approach. Okay, research choice. This is most important. Okay, in order you want to use mono meaning one, satu saja. Either you want use qualitative or quantitative. Mixed method both. So we have another one, we call that multi-method. So multi-method, we have quantitative, multi-method quantitative, number one, multi-method qualitative. Okay, mono-method you choose one. Okay, so this is a part of differentiate. I'm also prepare for your detailed understanding about 25 comparison qualitative and quantitative research. I think this one I not covered, but you can see this slide. So I make it different between, for example, number one, analyze. Basically in qualitative, they analyze according theme and data were categorized into patterns. But for the quantitative research based on statistical method. So for number two, finding more holistic, comprehensive, detailed and in-depth description for the qualitative research. But for the quantitative, a more precise numerical and statistic. Okay, this I just to share, just to describe on these two criteria, but you can read for another criteria for data, explore, philosophy, phenomenon, focus, hypothesis, observe, the present research, result, goal, value, freedoms, approach, abstraction, data collection, research question, research design, sample, nature of study, point of view, data source and work performed, setting, theory and purpose. Okay, so this is part. This is most important. If you can make difference, you can differentiate between qualitative and quantitative is good for us in order to know that. So in this situation or setting, is most suitable for qualitative or quantitative, or maybe you use both. We call that mixed method. So this is a part of the mixed method, a little bit explanation. So from based on the what we call that scholar, so they have come out that we have triangulations mixed method, we have exploratory, explanatory, and so based on the sequential explanatory or sequential explanatory, we have concurrent and transformative. So based depends and so in Malaysia mostly the famous, it's not famous lah, I think that keep frequent scholars site Creswell, for example. So Creswell divide by 7 and categorize on the or type. We can call that the mixed method type. So one is triangulation. Number 2 is about the sequential exploratory. Number 3 sequential exploratory first. Second sequential explanatory. So they have the concurrent. So they have thematic. They have embedded, so around that. Okay, you can refer on the specific. It's not, I not mentioned that you need to follow the Creswell, but I just give the example. So they have quite numbers of scholars have already explained, then they have also designed on the mixed method, you can refer. Okay, so this multi-method so related to us because we have multi-method qualitative. Okay, so that's why I try to give the optionals. It's not optional, so we can add your knowledge. So you should be know that if you want to study in qualitative, we have mono method qualitative. Second option, you should be can apply also for the mixed method. Option number 3 is a multi-method qualitative. Okay, so this is the summarize. Okay, so option number 1, your study may be mono method qualitative. Okay, second option, you maybe is the mixed method. So we have multi-method and mixed method. You may be mixed method, either mixed model research or mixed method research. And another one is a multi-method qualitative study. So qualitative study, number 1, mono-method qualitative. Second is mixed method, maybe mixed method model or mixed model research or mixed method research. And third one is multi-method qualitative study. Okay, so this is an example. Okay, when you write your thesis, we prefer, so for the ISTEF, we can start 3.1 is the introduction. 3.2 is approach. You can start the approach or you delete approach. You start with the Islamic management research or Islamic development research. You need to explain and you need to brief, right? What's a meaning on the Islamic development research? You can start for your outline 3.2. So this is some example. So let's say my study is educational. So I'm start with the educational research. For me, no need to write approach. Just straightforward educational research. If it's that, you can write Islamic development research. So this is part of the if now we are sharing on the more on the qualitative research. That's why I'm whatever that I'm covered now is more related on the 3.2 on the research design. Before we write the research design, please write on the specific field of your research. For ISDEF, Islamic Development Research or Islamic Management Research. Okay, so another part reported by certain or some of the scholar when they are write on the qualitative, okay, they are write on the criteria for producing qualitative research on the credibility. So do the data and finding truly reflect the participant experience? Or second one is transferability. Could the finding be transferred to the similar context? Okay, number 3 is dependability. Will we have to obtain similar result in the procedure had been followed? Okay, number 4 is confirmability. Could be finding can be confirmed with others method, participant and research. Okay, I'm also share one thesis, 2019, and from Neil Robert Schneider. So this is some of the example, a lot of the example in outside there. Okay, but in this thesis, explain and for example 3.2 quality criteria in qualitative research. Okay, they are cite from the quite common scholar from the Bryman and Bell. Okay, so from this is an example. You can follow the slide. Okay, they are right. Number 1, 3.2.1 credibility. Okay, so 3.2.2 on transferability, 2.2.3 dependability, 2.2.4 conformability. Okay, all right. I think around, yeah, I take around more than 10 to 15 minutes for the introduction on the qualitative research, start from the philosophy approach, okay, and the research choice, which is if you are studying in qualitative possibility, maybe your study is mono method qualitative. Second one, maybe you are mixed method research. Third one is multi-method in qualitative. Okay, now we are focused with our main topics. It's about a qualitative instrument. Okay. Okay, we start. Number 1 is the interview. Okay, interview atau temu bual. Okay, interview and temu bual. So little bit we go to the basic or the introduction of interview. Okay, interview is part of the process in which a researcher and participant engage in the conversation focused on the question related or research study. Okay, the most important, and when you apply for the instrument specific in the interview instrument, you make sure that specific or the related question can be answer your specific research objective and research question. Some I have some experience when students try to propose the interview questions. Basically, I need their research objective and research question, the most important. So they invite me as the expert and to review and check as the validate from the expert matters on their research. But I'm not happy because they are not provided their research objective and research question, because when I check all the question, I need to think that for this specific question for objective, which objective? Okay, so that's the number 1. It's about the process. So interview. Second one is the main purpose of the interview is obtain the special kind of information. Okay, so this is the beauty of the research. Okay, if you want more scientifics or more specifics, okay, that the phenomenon known. So kita dah tahu dah fenomena itu. So basically, it's not suitable for the interview. If yes, quite related on this issue, maybe you use a structured interview. Okay, but not for the semi or unstructured interview. Okay, but in case depend on your study. And some of research strategy in qualitative, we can start with the actual research. You solve the reality or the what we call that the current or the related reality in the problem. That's why you do actual research. From the benchmarking or uniqueness, you are study case study. Okay, so we have a lot tendency as the theory. Maybe you apply research strategy grounded theory. Okay, what else? Ethnography is something like cultures, phenomenology, narrative, and so they have a lot of the research strategy in qualitative. That yeah, we can say that every research should be focused one or two combination on your research strategy. But the most important, whatever research strategy you apply in your research in order to answer your research objective or research question, you need to apply the instrument. So how to know that? So this, in order to answer your objective number one, for example, this is interview or observation or document or survey. Okay, so in this part also is depend on your sampling also, and from the humanistic part. Okay, so in order to get the data, is it data is ready, we can say that, we can call that primary, or is it a secondary? We can refer from document, from the report. Okay, but in this method of interview, you cannot get from document. Okay, this part you need to go to the field, grassroots. You need to purposefully identify the right person to us. Okay, so you cannot be based on the hypothesis or theory testing. Okay, because this is become new, become phenomenon. So that's why you need to specific, okay, see the right person. Okay, either you, this is based on your sampling. Okay, that's why somehow that we need to learn many things when we apply for the qualitative research. Maybe you use purposive, maybe snowball, maybe quota, convenience. This part of the sampling also. So this all these methods, you should be integrate and align, and to make sure that you make the right choice and decision, that this research can we use interview in order to answer your research objective or research question number one. Okay, so that's why we choose interview, because in this reason, in the best part to get the finding is based on the interview. But the interview, we have some category also, and based on your question. Okay, later on we discuss on this specific. Okay, basically in this part of sharing, I just share with the three only: structured, semi-structured, and unstructured. Okay, when the interview cannot be observed behavior, feeling. Okay, you are more interested in the past events. Okay, you want to get the collection data from the large numbers of people representing a broad range of idea, multiple perspective. Okay, so you interview number one, you get that the information. Okay, you go to another person, second one, you get another information, become enrichment, enlightenment, and semakin kaya dengan data, and you get more meaningful, and dapat memberi makna yang lebih luas. So the part, this is the most suitable if you want to apply instrument for the interview. Type of the interview, so this become three, right? Highly structured or standardized, somehow we call that standardized, semi-structured, and unstructured. Okay, for basically structured, okay, this is some little bit good sharing. Okay, so let's say for the quantitative research, need to apply interview as their research instrument. Can quantitative research use interview? The answer is yes. Quantitative can use the interview. Also, however, okay, and another side, as the contrast, okay, the part is another contrast is qualitative researcher also can use the questionnaire. Okay, qualitative use questionnaire, okay, still declare you are qualitative research. And another research use the interview, but still in the quantitative research. The similar between these, why qualitative research still declare is a qualitative research when they use the survey, why quantitative still declare their research is a quantitative research but use the interview, because it's structured. Because the structure. So structure can be applied both. And for example, interview, so structured interview, quantitative research also can use. Qualitative research also can use. But no for the semi-structured and unstructured. Why? Because semi-structured, and in order you get the finding, hopefully, is actually more deeper. Okay, more deep. Lebih terperinci, lebih dalam. The difference between structure more straightforward. Okay, so that's why you can send to the participants, okay, or informants. Let's say you plan for the interview next week. You can send your question early. So because some question the participant or informant need to prepare that the question. So because you need to what we call that, need to check the documents, need refer from their subordinate in order to get the information before the interview date or interview section. Okay, so they have some time to prepare in order to get, in order to answer the good response from your questions. Okay, so this a little bit difference between these three. Okay, what the highly structured, or we call that structured interview. Okay, so actually wording of question is predetermined. Okay, so the semi-structured, and they have interview guide include a mix, a more less structured. Yeah, because the semi-structured, the less structured. Okay, so if the structured, it become the structured interview. So we have the open-ended question, flexible, more exploratory, and this will become unstructured interview. Okay, more detail you can refer slide. Okay, so this is a type of the question and good question. So and juga question for to avoid. Okay, so you can discuss detail after next slide. Okay, this is a good question. Overall, good interview question are those that are open-ended and yield to descriptive data, even story about the phenomenons. So tell me about a time when, give me an example of, tell me more about that, what was it like for you when. Ni cuma contoh lah, example. Okay, so ada banyak lagi lah, but the most important thing that the specific questions you give space to our participant and informant in order to share their knowledge, experience, and their own feeling on that specific matters. So that's why mostly in qualitative they use this semi-structure at least in order to get more enriched and meaningful finding. Okay. So this is the part of you need to avoid. Okay, don't make it multiple questions. Don't make it the leading question and yes or no question, because yes or no question is not suitable for the qualitative research in order to get the deep and clear finding. But yes or no and more unstructured, and more basically for the quantitative research. Okay, props. So prop is one of the tools or practice. Okay, sorry, it's not tool. This is approach. So prop is one of the good qualitative approach in order to get your good answer from your participants. Okay, question or comment that follow up something already asked. You make a judgment in your interview as you want to go along. Okay, so prop can come up with the form asking for more details, for clarification and for example. So prop is something like siasat lah. So whatever that answer from our participant, you can continue to go along, and then you can get more detail, clarify, and you can ask for another example to make it more clearly. Okay, this is some example on the props. Okay, questions. So this is I'm just share regarding on these two communication between interviewer and respondent. Okay, so in qualitative, some thesis you can see that the what we call that the person that you want to interview, they use respondent, participants, informants, and so it's not surprising lah. So some research use respondents, some other research use participants, some other research use informants. Okay, this is the part another need to discuss on the instrument for the interview. We have the interview guide. So we have the interview guide. So the interview guide is nothing more than list question, more very specific question, structured and unstructured and semi-structured also, relatively neutral and descriptive information. Okay, part of the relative neutral descriptive information at the beginning of the interview. So this is a part of interview guide example. Okay, so I'm sure is just looking after this later on. Okay, because our time is quite limit. Okay, just to prepare for 1 hour to discuss both for instruments and analysis also. Okay, so this part of the observation. Okay, so some research you cannot get the answer and finding from interview, but you need to go for observe. And when is subject to check and balance to produce trustworthy. Some when you go to the observe, you must much more clear because you go there specific, you can see whatever from your eyes on the specific angle and to balance up yeah you already interview, but you go to the observation, but we need split and you cannot be of when you go to the interview session, focus for the interview. Next, later on, you can go to the observation. Cannot be 2 in 1. So during the interview, you observe also. Cannot be. You need to specific because every single of the instrument need to be more focused. Okay. So in observation also, another instrument can be triangulate. For example, I already used the interview. In order to make a triangulate, I use the observation. What to observe? So many things you can observe. For example, here, if you actually at the school and observe a school because of your interest, how student led. Let's say you want to observe because you are actually in education researcher or your interest more in education, so you go to the school because you interest how student led. Sebaliknya, whereas if you are sociologist, might visit the same school, you go to the school also because of interest in the social institution. So this part of observe is different. If the engineer go to the school, their observation may be on part of the mechanical or civil part. If the teachers or educators maybe go to the school looking for the how that the student learning about their learn, about their what we call the physical, their attitude from the student, how the teacher teach. The part of the so different field can look or observe a different things. Okay, this part of the checklist or part observation you can use a checklist. So you can use a checklist in order to observe. Okay, so we have two also. We have the structured observation and unstructured observation. So structured you have the checklist. But if you don't have the checklist, it's become on the unstructured observation. Okay, conclusion, there are no specific checklists and this will highly depend on what the researcher intend to observe at the setting. Okay, so actually more flexibility. If you want to observe, can go to the observe. If you want to more specific, you can prepare a checklist in order to easier and focus what actually you want to observe. If in this case, you just go there and you want to go observe and more subjectively and flexibility, no need the checklist. You can go to, we can call that unstructured observation. Okay, the last one for the instrument that I need to discuss. Okay, first interview, second observation, number 3 is documents. So they're part of the discussion on the topic, discussion on the document. So find relevant document, assess the authenticity, code and catalog the material, do content analysis of the documents. Okay, find relevant document. This is the most important. When you want to document analysis, you need to find relevant document. Okay, that the systematic procedure that involve from the topic of inquiry itself. Example, okay, this is a one example. Let's say a qualitative study of the classroom instruction. The possible relevant document, okay, this part of the classroom instruction, what's of the document you should be focused, and okay, for the topic of inquiry itself. So example, instructor lesson plan, student assignments, object in classroom, official grade report, school record, teacher evaluation as well. Okay, so this depend on specific your research. Okay, if you are study on what else? Other study. For example, you want to study in myself. I have experience study on the karya and masjid. So what's the specific document I need? Dia punya apa? Penyata, what we call the financial statements. So dia activity. So dia minute mesyuarat. So that the document that related because you want to more understand about their practice in terms of management, in terms of their decision making, in terms of monitor and control their finance, especially on the account and finance. So that most on the relevant document. But it's more subjective and flexibility. So you can apply also the document, but you need to know that the specific document because you have the specific objective. Assess and authenticity accuracy. So this is a part of really important when we talk about the document. Is about the authenticity and accuracy. Okay, the author, the place and date writing all need to be established and verified. Everything single. When you want to check, for example, okay, you want to check that what we call the governance part of the management standard or consistent because they have, for example, they have the specific guideline. They are actually follow the guideline. Okay, but you need, for example, the number one, point number one. So the place, date, and you need to be established and verify. Kena tengok that benda tu betul atau tidak. Okay. Okay, for example, Guba and Lincoln suggest a list of questions a researcher may ask about the authenticity of document as the guideline. So then another keywords. When you apply for the document, it can be a guideline. Okay. The condition under which the document was produced. Okay, the condition under which the document was produced should be ascertained. Okay. A new release, the general public will have different purpose than the internal memo on the same topic. Okay. Do this only if there is possible. Okay, primary or secondary source. So we have the primary source and secondary source. Okay, for document. So in primary source, is actually the originator of document is recount first-hand experience with the phenomenon of interest. And for the secondary source is part of the phenomenon by those who have not directly experienced. So primary is based on directly experience and secondary is not directly experienced and the phenomenon of the interest. So the part also for document, so you need to, in your thesis also you need to write, this is part of the primary source or the secondary source. Okay, code and catalog the material. So you can adopt some, we have the some of system now, and okay, you can use which one is more friendly to make it a coding and catalog. Okay, it's possible. Written document should be copied and artifact photography or videotape. Okay, so this part of the basic or descriptive categories. Okay, in content analysis also, so when we talk about document, we need to discuss on the content analysis also. All qualitative data is a content analysis. Okay, whatever you get, okay, you transcribe. So in part of transcribe, this is a part of the process of the content analysis also. Okay. Qualitative content analysis look for insight which the situation, setting, style, image, meaning, and nouns of key topics. Okay, the process involve simultaneous coding of raw data and construction category that capture relevant characteristic of document content. Sorry, laju sikit. Okay. Conclusion, documents. Okay, the major. Okay, the major because we already discussed on the interview. Number one, second is about the observation. So third is a document as a major source of data qualitative. Okay, in qualitative instrument, commonly we can apply these three: and interview, observation, and also document. Also, another one, number four, you can apply for the survey also. But for the survey, just use for descriptive. No need testing theory, no need hypothesis. You use a survey because you want to get, for example, for the descriptive, you want to measure about the mean average, purata. So you want to make it them get the some like median. You can apply for this structured survey because you are actually no need hypothesis testing. Still, if you want to apply for the survey, you can use, but for the structured. Okay. Okay, we go. The second one is a part of the analysis data, qualitative data analysis. Okay. We go to the point on this slide, specific on the quality data analysis is based, number one is part of the activity. Okay. Qualitative analysis involve two activity. First is practical activities that assist with kind of data and large amount is need to be examined. Okay, for sure, when you are studying qualitative, you have a lot of data from one interview, from another interview. Okay, you get more. That's why we call that enriched data. Data yang kaya, banyak. Okay, aware of kind of data can be examined and how they can be described and explained. So that's part of the important. Okay, so when you get a lot of rich data, okay, you need to know that how to make sure that this is suitable. So that's why after this we can discuss about the categories, we can discuss about theme in order to make sure that this can be represented in order to answer your objective and research question. Okay, this is distinguished qualitative analysis from other approach. So merging collection and analysis, expand the volume data, is not reducing it. Okay, we go number one. Okay, merging collection and analysis. Some social research require you to collect data before you begin analysis. This is common lah, and sound like strengthening, tapi in this case become common, and mostly in social research can require you need to collect data first. Okay, in qualitative research there is no separation of data collection and data analysis. So this is part of the difference between qualitative and quantitative, and we no separation of data collection. Okay, analyze stat in the fields. Okay, not only concurrent analysis, the data collection possible. This is possible as a way of the raising new research issue and question. Okay, qualitative research is more flexible. That's why in the part of the philosophy in qualitative, so they highlight if you are studying in qualitative research, it's become more subjectively, more flexibility, and give in-depth explanation and meaningful. Okay, second one is expanding volume of data. Okay, unlike qualitative analysis does not seek the reduce and condense. Okay, second one, qualitative analysis usually seek the enhance the data. Okay, so this part of the unit to organize and managing the huge data. Okay, that's why part of the qualitative right now. So that's why we have the software like NVivo, Atresti in order to more structured to organize and managing for the huge data. All original data are preserved and text may to densely code, and much tag may have more than one code attack. Okay, so because you have the huge data, large data, so maybe you have more than one. Okay, data preparation. So this part is common. So when you get the data from the qualitative, after you make interview, so you need to transcribe, doing the transcription, printing the transcription, internet data, metadata, and achieve. So little bit note from this 6 transcription from their interview, from your recording and observation and field note. So you need to start with the transcription. They maybe take a lot of time, and maybe you need to become effort and 4 to 6 times, okay, in order to make it a transcription. Okay, so this is a part of the interpretive process. Okay, need to consider the transcription. Kenapa nak buat transcribing? Okay, strategy for transcribe, interview, and name, anonymization, and level of transcription. Okay, ini some of the conversational features. And this is some example lah. You can nampak nanti ada abbreviation, verbal tick, pause, repetition. This is common lah from your transcript. You need to write all this originality to become the more to natural. But you can face this issue also. Okay, just the gist, verbatim and verbatim with dialect. Okay. Okay, doing the transcription. Okay, siapa yang nak buat? Okay, the researcher, okay, you can do it themselves. Okay, you can use audio typist, employ somewhere else. Use OCR and speech recognition software. So ada use of optical character recognition and speech recognition software. So dah ada dah a few software. Okay, this is a part of the accuracy. Okay, you need to check again and the original transcription. Okay, this is an example of the transcription error. Okay, this is just to share. Then you can see that this is a part of the transcription error. Okay, for example, transcribe type phrase. Okay, what interview actually said. So this part of the error and can facing by transcribe an interview. And okay, printing the transcribe. The one of the reason why you need to print because easier to check. Okay. Number 4 in internet data. Nowadays, we are actually use the internet data and they can maybe solve the most of the problem associated with the transcription. Okay, metadata. So the part of the metadata also important. Okay, so you can make sure that the summarized information on data, interview, biographical details, and topic, name of interview, source, link document. Okay. Okay, number 6 and the last one is preparing for a chief. Okay, some case you may need to deposit your data to make sure that achieve so that others can use your work and possible analyze. Sometimes you are required to achieve your data if the project funded by certain organizational. Okay, so they are the control. Okay, you will need to analyze the transcribe. Okay, writing down your data. Start writing as early as you can. Okay, writing as you work through data collection and analysis. Okay, this part of analysis, qualitative data. Okay, the process of making sense of the data. The process used to answer the research questions. Okay, these answer are also called categories and theme or finding. Itulah yang somehow kita nampak, oh, categorize. Some researcher call that. You need have to call theme, somehow use the finding. But in case in Malaysia, commonly they use the theme and categories. Okay. Okay, next, the process begin with identify segment in your data set. Okay, the segment is a unit of data which a potential to answer, and a unit of the data can be small as a word or as a large. Okay. Okay, a unit must meet 2 criteria. Heuristic. Heuristic meaning that should reveal information relevant to the study and stimulate the reader to think beyond the particular bit of information. The unit should be the smallest pieces of information, okay, about the something that can be stand by itself. Okay, next, for the analyzing qualitative data, okay, the task is to compare one unit of information with the next looking regularities in the data. And so you need to make sure that allocating data to one category to another category. Okay, that some category may be subdivided and others subsumed and under more abstract categories. Okay, sorting category and data. So this part also important on the analysis data section. Okay, we need to sorting categories and data. Okay, at the beginning, your analysis should be more likely generate dozen, banyak lah of the dozen of tentative categories. As you go along, you should compile this spread memos. Okay, then you might rename a category. Okay. Okay, next, next is part of the, still we continue on the sorting category. So once you have derived tentative scheme, okay, you will need to sort all the evidence for your scheme into the category and creating 5 folder, each label for the category name. We need to each unit for data code and by hand or you based on the computer program. Okay, so you can also make sure that the detailed bit on segment of data, cluster them together a name to the cluster, category or theme or finding. And so from part of the sorting, maybe you become slightly deductive because you want to make sure and more focus. Okay, and then make sure that by the time you reach a saturation, tepu, saturation in bahasa Melayu we call tepu. Okay, naming the category. So the part of the category, next one is naming. So this part of purpose, investigator or orientation and knowledge and the meaning made explicit by participant themselves. Okay. Okay, so the name of category can come from at least 3 sources. Okay, number one from yourself lah, from researcher, and from term, concept, category. So second one from the participant. Okay, so the third one from the outside study, for example, literature. So they have 3 at least. Okay, you can categorize researcher, participant, and outside study, for example, literature. Okay, this part of the criteria for categories must be responsive. That's what must be responsive to answer research question. Be sensitive and to the data as possible. Sebab tadi kita dah discuss somehow that if you are not sensitive, become error. Okay, and holistic, enough category, mutually exclusive, relevant unit data can be placed. Be conceptual congruent, and all category are the same conceptual level. How many categories? Okay, it's a part of mention about the number of category of research construct depend on the data and focus of the research. The number should be manageable, so become a guideline for developing category. I mentioned something of the frequent, highlight on the important or critical important based on the uniqueness, reveal area of inquiry. Okay. Become more theoretical. So when you are study on the qualitative, because our end, and we start from the finding. So the last one, our finding become of the new theory or extended theories. Okay, so basically mostly on the research qualitative, we start for the narrative, that the largely descriptive, more abstract level involve the concept, describe deeper on the phenomenon. You are actually based on the category and theme and patterns. Third level, making inference, develop models or generating theory. So the end, output and outcome from the qualitative analysis result. Okay. Conclusion, once you have conclude your data collection and analysis, you are ready to write up your finding. Okay, so in this slide also, I try to share some of the example in my sharing. I need some example to share with you that. So in order to more understanding on the instrument and the analysis, we need to refer example from the previous writing. So I try to share around 11 example. You can refer this slide. So I not touch every single one example, but you can read this example. Hopefully you can refer all this and so 11 or 13. So example here, I think more than 11. Yes, 13. 13 example here. You can check that how that the previous scholar write on the more specific on research qualitative as the overall, but you can look for the more specific on the instrument and analysis. Okay. I'm sorry. I think I quite rush because I need to focus just 1 hours. Okay, so this video I will be upload in the YouTube. So if you have any question, please ask the YouTube. I try to respond. So quite many of limitation for sharing today's. Okay, when we discuss about the instruments or analysis, we are actually many angles and many subjective and flexibility we need to look. Okay, every single researcher and scholar, they have different or uniqueness of your research. And I believe that in ISDEF also, and for the Islamic development and Islamic management, we are actually more specific on specific topics also. Okay, so what actually I can be advise and suggest, the most important, if you prepare interview guide, for example, or the interview question, you need to make sure that this question are based on two areas. First, who the best person can be answer your question, and that the person can be commit and can assist us in order to get the good answer. Second one, you need to know that the specific question is answer your wish research question. Okay, so that's why in part of the validity, when you are proposed question, please make sure need to check the right person. Okay, so they have expertise and experience on the qualitative research. For example, interview, they have experience using interview as their research instruments. Okay. Okay, then a second one is part of the saturated. Okay, so in research, we need have some control and limitation, but in qualitative, we have the flexibility, we have the subjective matters, but to make sure that your finding and your result is become more enough, in this case enough to represent saturated, to can be clarified, can be answered as meaningful and much clear understanding. Okay, so that's why in your research also must be aligned also your research objective. So I discussed earlier. So your objective, your action words, you want to use explore or explain or investigate or analyze also need to be aligned with your research instrument. Okay, some student, I not say all, but some students, they are always think that which one is much easier, mudah lah, is become fast and easier. Okay, so just think that they have knowledge on that instruments, research instrument. For example, they are very have knowledge on the interview, that straight away they go to the interview. But when to get the best answer for, in order to answer your research objective, we think that so we need another instrument become their triangulation. For example, document maybe, or observation. Okay, so in second part that I need to highlight here is, it's good as a researcher not only depend one instrument. Okay, you can apply another instrument, become triangulation. I believe that nowadays we can get the document. For example, for Islamic part, I think that we have a lot of the document. Okay, so more specific documents. So somehow that if it's based on the behavior or the attitude or something you need to check and look, so maybe you need to consider for the document also. Okay, for analysis part, yeah, this part of the, I think that I'm not covered enough on the analysis part, because it's quite more to general explanation or analysis, but we need more on hands-on and practically in order to understand on the analysis. But I'm sorry again, because of the limitation and maybe I'm not what you call that, more simplified on this matter, because I try to cover many things. So hopefully in future, if we have time and opportunity, maybe we can look more practically, more specific, and maybe we need to have the what we call that dummy of data. We need to use the real data in order to understand for analysis. Okay, so that's all. So thank you for this chance and opportunity to share about the instrument and analysis for the qualitative research. Hopefully a little bit knowledge you can get, and tak dapat banyak, dapat sikit pun alhamdulillah. And saya mohon maaf, I say really sorry for this sharing. Kalau ada apa-apa kekurangan, kesilapan, saya mohon maaf. Okay, itu saja perkongsian. Semoga ada rezeki, nanti kita akan jumpa di masa depan. Okay, terima kasih semua. Assalamualaikum semua. Terima kasih.